So we're back with the OBS controller here and just seeing where I've got up to today. So I can click the edit mode and we can come in here and make changes based on options in here, but we can't yet save them. So how do we go about that? Okay, so this is my edit scene model and this is the edit scene hierarchy. And we have a look down here. These are the individual rows. And then we have the save and back buttons, which kind of float down here because they're moved into the view by the view manager. So if you have a look at the save, you can see that it's a button and it's using the binding manager to call save. And it's also using this bound interactable control to say whether it's enabled or not. And that itself is bound to a property called canSave. So following that back then, we know that we are bound to the binding manager edit scene. This binding manager is bound to the view model. So let's have a look at that view model. Now it doesn't appear that we've got canSave in here as yet. So let's do that first. So we want let's just grab this, in fact, I'll just copy and paste canSave, which is a Boolean. canSave. And that's all we need to do in order to get the binding working in terms of adding this new function. Don't have to do any other functions, any other C#. It's just making sure you've got this property here. So let's just set this to true by default. So canSave equals true by default. Let's see if that makes any difference. So just wait for Visual Studio and Unity. Okay, now we run. Click edit, go in here, and that is not enabled. So we have a look at our edit scene view, go to debug. So the canSave equals true, so something on this binding is not working. So what could that be? So if we look at our edit scene view model, got a canSave here. So why isn't this running? So let's put a couple of breakpoints on this. I want to see what's going on. So let's run this up. Okay. Now I'm not seeing that far at all. So that would indicate that the binding's not working. So why is that binding not working? So we've got our button. It's because it's disabled. So the button setup isn't disabled, so it should be coming in here. So there's still something funky going on here. So button setup, save. Let me just change this name, button edit scene save. And then in our bindings, our binding manager, let's just find that. We're going to come in here and I'm going to call initialize the binding. So we want to just come in here and say when the binding dot name equals button save. Okay, let's run that. Just run through that one. I was correct. Run through it again. Right, so our edit scene and our binding is button edit scene. So this is the correct binding. So it's got a property. This all looks correct. So let's just see what happens here. So do we have any data? Our model is OBS server. Now that does not look correct. So that looks like the problem. For some reason, I'm binding on that wrong data. So why would that be? So edit scene is using the view model. Well, that's the view, sorry. Binding manager is using the settings provider. Right. Right. So that's the wrong provider. So we want that provider, the view model provider, and the view model provider will then point to edit scene. So let's try that again. Okay, so this is our can save again, and our binding is button edit save. That's correct. And our current data item this time is edit scene view model. And now our can save property is being fired. So when we go into edit now, it's set to true and it's on. Yay, okay. So there is the old copy and paste of components biting me in the rear. Okay, so that's now enabled. Not sure what happens when I press save. It seems to could not locate a method called save. Okay, so we're missing a save on the binding. Well, that's fine because we haven't got one. So let's come back in here and create a method. So it's our private, public. Okay. Public void save print saving edit scene. Let's run this up. Just clear that. Binding manager execute, saving edit scene. So that's the bindings all set. Everything's ready to go on that front. Not sure when this thing is going to be disabled. And actually, let's just check the cancel. Could not locate a method called cancel. Okay, so I need to do something there as well. So public void cancel. And then we could probably just do the view manager instance. So go back. Let's run that up, test that. Okay, that seems to do the trick. Right. So the question now becomes, when do we decide to make that savable? We really want it to be when we've made a change. But that's relatively tricky because the problem is this scene doesn't really know the difference between it being populated and the properties changing to when the user's changed it. And I think it is probably going to be down to this data context changed. I wonder if that is true. So when this changes, it's going to fire off a load of different changes to the various details, but only after that is it going to make a difference between it being user changed and programmatically changed. So let's put something called is dirty equals false. So I want to do that. So what I want to try and do is say when it can change. I'm not sure is dirty is the right word for this thing. So is updating, is data updating equals true. And then at the end of that equals false. So then I can say in raise property changed, property invoked, I can say if not is data updating, then can save equals true. And then here, so coming in with a new piece of data, we can say can save equals false. And actually, if property name does not equal can name of can save and that, then can save equals true. So what we're trying to do here is to basically leave it at false. So we automatically set it to true here. So let's leave it at false to start with. And then when we run, so it's grayed out now. So it should, whenever I change anything, be enabled. And then you would cancel that change. And then that's a little bit of a flaw in my plan because it's the same data context. If I go to Firefox now, you'll see that that changes. I suppose that's probably, no, I don't think you would. I think if we cancel it, what we'll do is we'll just clear it. We'll probably just say can save equals false. And we would do some reset any changes. So Space Shooter, change the icon, cancel, back into Space Shooter, and now it's correctly set. Although you'll see here that it still remembers the change I made. So we need to do that reset. So how should we do that? Okay, so it's because it's bound to the changes. So let me just have a look at something as we move. So what we're doing, if we remember here, is we're binding to a view model. And this is edit scene view model here, which has got various things in it. Now, if I open that and change the size to double width, we can see here that selected size is double width. Now, if I cancel that, you'll notice that it's still on double width. If I come back in, it's interesting. The size is saying normal here, but the selected size is double width. That doesn't seem correct. So that's an interesting problem. So I go to Firefox, still saying double width. The selected sprite has changed. Selected scene has changed. But the selected size is still saying double width. That is curious. So that feels like that the selected size isn't changing. So there's the sizes. Selected size. Let's just put a breakpoint in here. I'm going to see what's going on. Okay, so selected size is normal. Still normal. I change it to double width. And the selected size is double width. Our current size is normal, so it's a change. So we see it change to double width and double width there. That's fine. Cancel out of that. And now we choose Firefox. So something's asking for it, the selected size. And the selected size is coming back as double width there. And so that's staying at double width. But interestingly, the binding is saying normal. So something very curious is happening here. Why is this still saying double width? So that should be changing when the data context changes, which is in the edit scene view model. Get currently selected color. Hang on, where's size? Where is size? I don't see a size here. Matching size. Get currently selected size index. Selected size equals matched size. Let's create this method. It's going to be an int. And int tile size. I think that really ought to be an int. Because we're dealing with drop downs. Right, okay, so we have a scene view model and we have a size. Do we have a size? We don't. Okay. Size then. Okay, so available sizes, index of tile size, and then return the match. So now we have to go to wherever the view models, these scene view models have been created. Because we have a new property called tile size. And we need this to be a full property. because it needs to be able to raise I notify property. It's just the same model as these, so we just have to say if the size doesn't equal the value, then we make the change, and we can say raise property changed, and I'll add a new function. So we've got a name, property name, caller by name, caller member name, so that automatically populates that. And we can just raise that in there, nice and simple. And then we can clear up this code here, make it a bit tidier. There we go. Okay, so if the size changes, all right, size is using the wrong format. You need to use Unity naming. Okay, so now we've got size. So what is setting these sprites, for example, chosen sprite. So it's in this initialized tile. So it looks like we can do the tile is being set. I guess tile's got a size. Tile size. I've got a property called tile size. Okay. So I think we'll just set it to default for now. Let's make that a bit neater. Okay, now let's see how that runs. Okay, so we've got normal, and we have our edit scene, and its selected size is 0, which is correct. So then we can go to the double width, and we can see the selected size is now the first element. Now we cancel this, come back into Space Shooter. That's normal, but selected size is still saying 0. Now it's gone back to 0. So when it's reset, and I've gone to another element, that has updated. But if I change this, cancel, and then go back to the same element, it hasn't cleared, so the cancel hasn't done its thing, which we kind of know that's to be true because we haven't actually done that work. We had that to do in there, so it's not resetting any changes. Okay, so resetting changes, how am I going to do that? I guess the simplest thing to do here is we've got this data context. So if I set the data context to be null, then that is going to mean that it won't be guarded by this change. So I'll show you what I mean. so when we run now, go into edit mode, go to space shooter. Right, so normal, normal. Go to double width. So double width, selected size is 1. Cancel out that, go back into space shooter. And the selected size is still 1. Dig. That didn't work. For some reason that didn't fire. I'm curious. I'm curious again. So cancel that. Click that. Ah, the data context didn't change. It knows the data context hasn't changed, so it hasn't sent in a new one. Ah, that's annoying. Okay. Yeah, because the data context property is not changing again, so I can't rely on that. Oh, I thought that was going to be a nice little hack, but no. But no. So what we could do, I guess, is we could say, so the data context is coming here, so we could say old data context, original data context equals value. And then when we cancel, this would do a proper reset. In fact, we should do data context equals that, because that will make this trigger all of these changes. Yeah, I'm liking that. Right, so let's run that up again. Space shooter, normal, 0, double width is 1, cancel out of that, back into space shooter, and it's still 1. No. No! How is this true? Cancel. Oh. Well, okay, let's try that again. Yeah, got a selected size is firing. So 1, which is wrong. Size is normal. Cancel out of that. So the original context size is normal. It's doing the guard. Ah, caught me out again. So data context to value. I think it just realizes it's the same object. Gag. I'll get there. I will get there. Edit, space shooter, double width, 1, can save, cancel, can save is gone, back to 0, open up, normal, finally. Well, that was a lot of effort, but we got there at the end. We've now got a cancel mechanism. That was not fun. Right, so double, can save, come out of that, open Firefox, can't save yet, haven't made a change, back to normal, everything's good. Right, so that's one step further. I've now got a context bound saving and cancelling, and the cancelling can now reset the object that's under the edit view. Another step closer. Okay, thanks.